Now, what in the Norwegian is going on here? So today's topic is going to make your blood boil, so much so that it's going to melt the icebergs that I just saw over in Antarctica. So imagine with me, if you will, you've booked the vacation of a lifetime for yourself and your family. You've decided to make payments on that cruise up until the time, and then about 21 days prior to your cruise, the whole darn thing gets canceled all over an add-on that you were window shopping that is merely $800 when your cruise as a whole cost about $5,000. Well, this is a situation that unfortunately happened to a woman and her family, and well, honestly, I think it is stupid, wrong, and well, NCL has some questions that need to be answered here. Now, before we dive into this infuriating topic, I do have to give credit where it's due. Shout out to Tony from La Lita Loca. He was the first person to cover this particular topic. Somebody sent this issue over to me a couple days ago. However, as most of you know, I just got back from Antarctica, 11-day cruise. I've been MIA, and well, I've been trying to scrounge around what topics I wanted to put out for all of you because, well, there's just a giant backlog. There's magicians getting attacked and all kinds of things going on. So we're finally going to jump on it. But again, I think Tony, he did an amazing job at kind of breaking all this down. He brought up some very valid points similar to what I'm going to talk about in this video. However, I am going to do an add-on since, as most of you know, well, I am a former employee of NCL, and I was also on the ship that is going to be in question here. And well, let's just add a little bit of extra giblets to the mix when it comes to this particular topic. So there's a woman by the name of Evangelia Comenides. I probably butchered that name really badly. Lady, I'm sorry. I'm doing the best I can. I'm just telling the story. Anyway, she lives over in New York and decided she wanted to get away from the frozen tundra, the winter season over in New York. So she decided to book a cruise in February on the Norwegian Prima for herself and her family. However, instead of paying in full, she went through a source known as Uplift. Now, Uplift is basically a finance company that does work with NCL that will allow you to make payments for your cruise either prior or even after. Now, she made a deposit, I believe it was like $400, and she, for the next 11 months, will continue to pay down until the cruise was completely paid in full. Now, when she got to the cruise being, well, somewhat paid in full, there was a situation in which she decided to go back to the site and see what additional add-ons were available for her Norwegian experience. And one thing that was there was her getting ground transport. This is going to be something of a bus or a van that is going to take her from the airport over to the ship. So according to her, she allegedly only took a peek at it. The add-on just happened to pop up. We've seen that happen, and she added it to the cart. However, she did not purchase it. It was just kind of in the cart and it was kind of just left alone. However, it looks like Norwegian apparently thought she was going to book it and left it on there for the tab for her to pay. 21 days before her cruise, since that was unpaid, even though the other $4,600, close to $5,000 was paid, they did cancel her entire cruise for a $112 charge, and unfortunately the entire balance that she had already paid was going to be non-refundable, meaning she doesn't get her cruise and she does not get her money back either. Before we continue, just to clarify, because I know I kind of confuffled that whole thing with Uplift, they basically will give you a loan that will pay out the entirety of your cruise as a whole, or however it is that you want to do business with them. They do have a couple options from my understanding. I personally never used them, but basically when these loan services kind of work, they will give you the money up front to pay for whatever it is that you want to pay down and take care of, and then you will pay fees and interest rates, because obviously they're not just going to give you the money for free for a vacation, and then you'd pay it down for the next, well, in this case, 11 months. So this is what the lady was dealing with. Now, moving on, what ended up happening is after the woman saw that her cruise was canceled with a non-refundable payment, she immediately freaked out, like anybody naturally would, and called NCL. And NCL simply told her to kick rocks, get out of here. That's our money now, and you can't have it back. And she said, it's my money and I need it now. And well, it didn't exactly work out. So what did she do? She went to what was known as Consumer Rescue. Now, there is a woman named Michelle Couch Freeman, and she decided to sit in on this situation. You see what I did there? And she decided to contact NCL to see what the issue was. And it turned out that there were a number of problems. The first of which was a situation in which, well, they thought that maybe the dates were switched around, or maybe that the woman's account was put on another another person's account because there was a mix-up of dates, and as far as the location, the cruise was saying it was allegedly out of Miami. However, many would argue that NCL's headquarters is in Miami. That's why it said Miami on the actual paperwork, and the dates were mixed around, and all of that was eventually rectified. And then we had a situation where the woman unfortunately has no paper trail. She doesn't have the receipts on the cruise that was booked, and she's saying that allegedly NCL did some type of tampering with the email in which they kind of deleted and unsent the emails with all the confirmation numbers and all the stuff that she may need. I'm going to bring up that a little bit later on whenever I get to my opinion on the matter. So all of that is going on. This woman, Michelle Couch, she can't fix the situation because NCL is basically saying, look, it's our policy. You're going to have to just take it on the chin and deal with it. And then they also contact Uplift as well. Uplift is kind of redirecting them over to NCL, saying, hey, we just provide the service with NCL. NCL has all of the money, the guap, the moolah. If you want all this rectified, or if you want your payment refunded properly, you're going to have to go to the proper channels, which is only through NCL. Now, before we dive into the spicy opinions, let's clarify something here. The NCL Prima is currently sailing out of Port Canaveral, Florida, Orlando area. Meanwhile, the Encore is sailing out of Miami. This is where the whole potential mix-up that was then cleared up was thought about. They thought the woman was being switched over, at least on paper, to the NCL Encore, and there was some confusion there. Once again, that has all been cleared up. Now, just getting into the opinions of all of this. First things first, lady, this passenger here for herself and her family, if you are going to book a cruise, or I want to say anything that is of value, that is potentially hundreds, if not thousands of dollars, make sure you get the receipt. So whenever I book a cruise, for example, and I get all the confirmation emails, even before I leave the website, whether I book a flight, a cruise, you name it, I take a screenshot at the bare minimum, and I keep all that stuff in my phone. I keep it on my computer. I keep it on my tablet. I keep it printed most of the time. It's like once a week I might go print some documents out for my records for tax purposes, or should a situation happen like this. I would say when it comes to that, that is on you, and that's a lesson that needs to be learned. Always print out your documents. Now, when it comes to NCL, I got a lot to unpack here. NCL, I'll be honest with you guys, is not my favorite line by any means. You see the CEO, Del Rio, you just either let go or left or whatever the case may be. Change is definitely needed, especially when it comes to these policies. One person would argue on one side that the policy is the policy. I would agree to that. However, that doesn't mean that change is not in order. I believe there should be a policy in which if somebody pays for the entirety of their cruise, I don't think any add-on should have any reflection in any way, shape, or form of that initial payment that they have made. $5,000 versus $112 that isn't even part of the cruise to begin with, just because the transportation, the ground transportation, is affiliated to some degree with the company as far as getting the passenger from the airport over to the ship. I don't believe that just because somebody didn't pay that, whether they put it in the bucket or not, the shopping cart, does not mean because they didn't make that payment, the whole darn thing should be canceled. And once again, I know it's a policy, so to a certain extent, you can argue that it simply is what it is. And on that note, I would say for all of you out there that are booking online without travel agents, by the way, make sure you check out Touring Plans, my travel agency. I make sure I book almost 99% of my cruises with them. That way, of course, if situations like this arise, then, well, I have at least somebody in my corner that can call NCL on my behalf and hopefully, fingers crossed, get everything rectified. But if you don't have that situation, make sure you double, triple, quadruple check every single detail of what you are paying for. Go over the fine print, go over the cancellation policy, go over the refund policy, and make sure you confirm your final details before you pay. And even after you paid, make sure you confirm your details. I know that sounds very strict, anal, however it is that you want to look at it, but I believe this stuff is important when you are spending that kind of money, especially when it's money that maybe you have saved up for months or years or what have you in order to make this vacation possible in the first place. Also, looking at this from a moral and I want to say publicity standpoint, NCL, I get it, the policy is the policy. However, I do believe the blowback over this overall is going to have, well, reputable damage to your reputation and the fine line and branding of the business. Once people really start to get word on this, and I'll be honest, well, I'm probably going to play a hand in that, same with Tony and everybody else. Once this type of news gets out, you're going to have a large group of people potentially saying, you know what? I'm going to think twice about working with NCL because I don't want this to happen to me. Not that it would. Let's be clear about that. And I'm also not trying to, well, persuade people to not cruise with NCL. Even though, like I said, it's not my favorite. I don't think NCL is a bad line. They're successful for a reason. But when you hear stuff like this happen, these nightmarish like stories that are, well, could be potentially easily fixed with a simple solution and just helping out this poor woman that is trying to have a good time with her and her family, Well, again, that's when morals come into place and there's the policy and then blah, blah, blah. You guys know the whole spiel. However, I do want to leave all this up to you. Do you think NCL should hold their ground no matter what reputable damage could occur and say, you know what, the policy is the policy. For $112, we're going to keep your almost $5,000 and there is nothing you could do about it? Or do you think that they should bend the rules a little bit in this particular case? Also, for the lady, also my opinion in this situation, I believe that she should just go ahead and go to court, right? Whatever money you have, scrounge up, take them to court. That way you can figure this out. And whatever details may be unveiled, uncovered, who knows? Maybe she actually did say she was going to pay for the ground transportation. That is not us to decide. Nevertheless, it is what it is. I want to know all of your thoughts on this matter. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. And also, unpopular opinion, lady, you went on the wrong ship. As most of you know, I was on the NCL Prima, and well, I didn't have the greatest time. You should have went with another ship. Maybe the breakaway class if you're going to go with NCL, in my personal opinion. Maybe they'll fix up the Viva or something like that. No bash it, a beautiful ship. However, the structure and design is just kind of a little weird for me when it comes to the NCL Prima. Breakaway class, in my opinion, is just much better. Anyway, guys, I appreciate all of you. I love all of you. Let me know your thoughts. Hit that like button on your way out. And, well, I'll see you later. Take it easy.